Thank you very much, Martin Leary. Once again, a very good morning to you and to all of our listeners on FM100 in Papua New Guinea. Lovely to have your company on this Saturday morning. As per usual, a special edition of the SP Sports Breakfast Show. We are coming to you live from Combank Stadium in Parramatta. All thanks to our sponsor for this tour, Solo. If you're looking for something to quench your thirst on this very warm day, make sure you grab a Solo, one of the most reliable brands in terms of the soft drink game here in Australia, but also in Papua New Guinea. We have previewed that first game, which will be happening overnight, the third and final test match of the series between Australia and England at Leeds. Safe to say, if we were going to get a tip from all three, I'm going with Australia. Peter?
Australia.
Okay, so we're pretty clear on that. The Aussies should get the win over the English, but we'll, I guess, recap that game when we join you live tomorrow as part of our coverage for the Pacific Championships final. Now, the first match of tomorrow kicks off at 10:25 PNG time, and this is a World Cup qualifier between the Cook Islands Aitu and the South African Rhinos. I've had a look at the team lineups, and I am unable to identify a single player in the South African lineup. I mean, if you look at the list of names, there is no one that stands out there who is an NRL player, a reserve grade player, unless maybe someone, if you look at that list in the Q Cup, that rings a bell for you guys, but certainly not for me. This game, in my opinion, will be very one-sided. I think that the Cook Islands Aitu should get the win. They've spent the last week or so back home in Rarotonga and in parts of the Cook Islands preparing for this game, a little bit of a training camp, but also connecting to culture. They've been in the villages, they've been in the local schools, they've had the local fan days, the training, open training sessions, connecting with their support base back home in the Cook Islands. When you look at their lineup, they have a wealth of NRL experience. The co-captains for tomorrow, KL Iro in the centres, and then you've also got Murata Niokore in the second row. Quality players in those two, but then you've got a premiership winner in Brendan Piakura. He's in the second row as well. Davey Mawale at prop. Makahisi Makatoa, who's with the Sydney Roosters at the moment, the other prop. Then you look at the interchange bench. You've got Ruben Porter, NRL experience, Q Cup experience. Pride Pedersen Rabadi at lock. And then in the back line, you've got Eason Masters at 7, who used to play in the NRL as well. Ruben Rennie in the centres with KL Iro. They have a quality lineup. I know they struggled in the Pacific Championships in the bowl. They had losses to Fiji, losses to PNG and the Kumals. However, tomorrow, when they come up against an opposition like South Africa, who've never played in a Rugby League World Cup, I'm not too sure how strong their rugby league, I guess, pathway is. They're more of a rugby union nation. But I'm going to be tipping the Cook Islands in this first game in the World Cup qualifier. However, very excited to see what South Africa serves up. It'll be a new experience for us all, won't it?
Yeah, it will be. And like you said, just looking at the team list for the South African Rhinos, there's not much really going on for them. They don't have any players playing internationally or playing overseas here in the reserve grade matches. And I think that's a tradition that they've kept from the rugby union side. When South African rugby union teams, or when the South African rugby union or SARU would make selections for the Springboks, they don't select players from outside competitions to play for the national team. So if you're from South Africa and if you want to play rugby league for South Africa, you need to be part of the competition in South Africa or play in a competition that's an ongoing competition in South Africa to be selected for the national side. So that's how they conduct their selections, and that's right. Most of the players that you see in the Rhinos camp, they're all players that play rugby league only in South Africa. You mentioned that we don't know much about their competition, whether it's up to par with the junior competitions here in Australia or compared to other competitions around the world, but yeah, it'd be interesting to see what they put up. I'm also tipping the Aitu to defeat the Rhinos.
Yeah, listen, I'm looking at this Rhinos team, and you know when you watch the Springboks and you see their lineup, you hear a lot of names that are obviously South African. I'm seeing a lot of names like McManamy, Mackenzie, Smith, a lot of
English
Anglo names. So yeah, I'm thinking, where do they find these guys? Are they actually from South Africa, or do they have South African heritage? It's going to be a strange thing, but I think what they have over the Cook Islands is that they are a complete unknown quantity. So we actually don't know how good they are, what they're capable of, and where their strengths are. And it could surprise the Cook Islanders full for a portion of the match. However, Spiro, as you said, there's just too much quality in this Cook Islands team. That's one, with all the names you've mentioned. But they've had the benefit of the Pacific Bowl Championship, and they played well in those 2 games that they lost. They scored tries, and they look good against some really good opposition, and that's going to put them in good stead, and they shouldn't have any problems with the South African team. But just out of interest alone, we don't know what the South Africans are bringing tomorrow, and that's going to be worth the price of admission just to come and see what do they have.
And it's great that they're given a platform, I guess, to be able to showcase that they've got a rugby league team. So whatever happens, people will know, okay, well, they play rugby league in South Africa. Like at the World Cup, the last World Cup, Jamaica. Who would have thought Jamaica were a rugby league nation? Well, they have a team. They got smashed in every game, but it just shows that the game is growing globally. It'll take time. I'm not talking 5 or 10 years. I'm talking 20, I'm talking 30, I'm talking 40 years down the track. These nations, if they keep plugging away at it, eventually you're going to have a very strong representation across the board. Rugby league's a new sport. It's only 120 years old. 1908 it was invented, right? Rugby league.
Yeah, that's what.
So it's only 15, 120 years old. So the sport is still growing, and I'm keen to see in the next 20, 30, 40 years, these nations like South Africa, like Jamaica, what they'll be, because clearly, by them having a platform on a day like tomorrow, more people will know that they're in the international rugby league space, and there might be young kids out there who say, well, I'm playing rugby league at a junior level, I've got South African heritage, and they'll then aspire towards playing for these national teams down the track and in the future. So it's an interesting prospect, but I am tipping the Cook Islands in that first match here at Combank Stadium in Parramatta tomorrow. The focus then turns to the Pacific Cup final for the women's between the Australian Jillaroos and the Kiwi Ferns. We will be calling this match live right here on FM100. Kickoff is at 12:35 p.m. local time. We'll be on air from 12 p.m. with a match preview and live coverage. Myself, Nigel, Mado, Peter Pusal, John Togauta Jr. Will be here as well. We've got Benjamin Koitaka, who'll be part of the coverage, and the rest of the team as well. Dorothy Andromoy, the tour manager. We might see an appearance from her on the sidelines, wrangling some players. And of course, the one and the team in the background here, getting very excited with the name drop. Of course, Charlie as well. Charlie, the Canberra Raiders diehard in the background as well. They're a funny crew. We've been talking pigeon this morning as well. We'll get to that in a moment. But let's put the focus on this particular game. Australia v New Zealand in the women's. They played each other last week across the ditch at Eden Park in New Zealand. Australia got the win 10-4 in a very, very tight match. The big news leading into this game, Tamika Upton. She will be returning to the side for the Jillaroos, a well-known player in PNG, given her link to the Brisbane Broncos. Made the move this season from the Newcastle Knights to the Brisbane Broncos, won a premiership there. She was out last week, but she returns at fullback for the Jillaroos tomorrow. When you look at this team right across the field, so experienced. You look at their halves, their captain, Ali Briganshaw, in what will be her second last year of rugby league. Next year will be her last season in the NRLW. She has confirmed that. She's re-signed with the Broncos. So her career is coming to an end, but we get to see her tomorrow in a major match. You have a look at this lineup. Kezi Apps in the second row with Yasmin Clydesdale, two experienced players of International Women's Rugby League. Olivia Koenig at lock. Their interchange bench, they've got Jess Surgis on the bench. It's an interesting selection because Jess Surgis usually plays on the wing or in the centres for the Roosters. Fun fact as well for anyone listening in PNG, her partner is Tommy Talau. Tommy Talau from Manly, she is actually going out with Jess Surgis at the moment. So just an interesting bit of detail for anyone that might not know that. You look at the other side of the coin though, New Zealand have a quality lineup. Mele Hufanga. Now I mentioned Mele in the pre-game in the centres, played for the Brisbane Broncos, scored the match-winning try in the grand final. Some people might recognise her for a certain reason. Peter, you might be able to shed light on that. They would recognise her look, but maybe not her name, so we'll get to that in a moment. But looking at the lineup, Racine McGregor, the halfback and the captain, with the Dragons in the NRLW competition, she'll be making the move across to the West Tigers. Ash Quinlan will partner her in the halves. The forward pack, very strong. You got Angelina Tekaranga Katoa at prop with Tiana Davison, Brooke Anderson, the hooker, and Nessa Biddle in the second row with Atessa Pule and Georgia Hale rounding out the forward pack at lock. And then you look at their bench, they've got Tyler King or Tyler Nathan Wong, the former New Zealand Rugby Sevens player that went to the Olympics, Alexis Tournier as well. They have a quality lineup. So you've got two very strong teams. I'm not surprised we're seeing them in the Cup final. Toa Samoa, they were there. They were in the group stages, struggled in both matches, got beaten convincingly in the second game against the Jillaroos. A much closer affair with the Kiwis. But this game will be a great one. It could go either way. Last week, of course, Australia got the bragging rights. Will it be New Zealand tomorrow that secure victory? It's a toss of a coin. I think they're both very, very good quality lineups and outfits. It comes down to who wants it more, who comes here with the most hunger, who rocks up on the day. I think that's where it'll be won and lost. But I'm going to be tipping the Australian Jillaroos. They were out here for their captain's run not too long ago. They looked very comfortable. They looked like they were in the zone. Vibes were high, and I think they'll be able to carry that into tomorrow's game.
Yeah, I agree with you, Spiro. But the Kiwis, I mean, they could have done something last week. The problem was they couldn't execute when they were in positions to score. That's the key for them. They've got a lot of good players. They can make the yardage, and they're very intense on defense. The Australians are at home. That's always a big plus, but they got a lot of class. And it's almost a mirror of what's happening in the UK. But the Kiwis are probably more competitive, their women's side. And Mele Hufanga, as you said, she's a player that a lot of Broncos fans would be familiar with. She had a big game in the grand final as well. But she's got a specific type of build, and she's got the short haircut, and she runs hard. She tackles hard, so she's a big plus for the Kiwis. But the problem I see for them is their halves. They need to execute when they get into positions on the field and put real pressure on the Aussies. If you don't put pressure on the Aussies and you turn over position, they are going to come back and score points against you. It's that simple. The pack's pretty much very competitive. They even each other out. But for mine, I think the halves are the key. They need to make sure that they execute those fifth tackle plays and get some points or get repeats. It's just that simple.
Yeah, for me, I'd be looking forward to the fullback matchup. You got Api Nichols going up against Tamika Upton, and that's going to be very exciting to watch. You know, I've been a big fan of Api Nichols for a very long time. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they both go, and also like you said, Pete, the execution from the New Zealand Kiwi fans needs to be on point tomorrow. I mean, it was a 10-4 loss to the Jillaroos in New Zealand. I'm hoping they show up tomorrow and they put up a strong game up against the Jillaroos.
It's hard to tip because these are two powerhouses of international rugby league when it comes to women's, and I think Peter's right. You look at the halves pairing, Ali Briganshaw, premiership winner with the Broncos, Jessie Southwell actually going to the Broncos next year. So she was at the Newcastle Knights, young gun, very impressive player, fantastic kick pressure, great speed and agility around the park. So you've got two of the best halves in the game. And then Racing McGregor has been sort of hit and miss the last few years for the Kiwis, and Ash Quinlan has struggled to get a lot of game time starting. She's come off the bench, she's played in a heap of different positions. So I think you're right, Peter. It could be won and lost there, but who wants it more? Who's hungrier tomorrow? Australia, the Jillaroos won the Pacific Cup final last year. We were here at that game, Peter, and they got the better of their opponents, the Kiwis, that day. So a rematch of that game. I'm really looking forward to it, but I'll tip the Jillaroos. Who are we going with, Peter and Nigel?
Yeah, it's going to be the Jillaroos for me. It'd be a pretty brave person to bet against the Jillaroos at home, especially after the performance last week in New Zealand. So you think it's the Jillaroos?
Yeah, usually, you know, there's someone who needs to go against the grain. So I'll be that person. I'll be tipping the New Zealand Kiwi fans.
Fair enough. I respect your courage, Nigel. But they could win it.
They could win
it. It depends how they rock up tomorrow. The mentality, it comes down to who's going to play, their best. Who's going to put their best version of themselves forward tomorrow?
And injuries could also play a part. So if somebody goes down early in the match, that could turn the whole momentum for the game for the other side, and they could come back. So you never know what can happen in a footy match.
Last week was fantastic as well. Really good game at Eden Park. Both teams played fantastic, but tomorrow it's all on the line. They're playing for some silverware. So good luck to the Gillaroos, good luck to the Kiwi Ferns, and we look forward to bringing you that game live right here on FM100. Thanks to Solo tomorrow. Kickoff at 12:35. We'll be live from midday local time with a match preview and any late team news that happens to come in, but also a bit of a discussion about what happened overnight and what happened in that World Cup qualifier. So we'll be live from midday tomorrow. This is the game that we've all been waiting for, though.